You know, you know what I really like? The Elder Scrolls. You know what I also really like? What was my first adventure game? The first thing that kind of resembles an RPG? The Legend of Zelda series. Yeah, I played the original The Legend of Zelda in 1990. What if the two of them met somewhere dark and had a baby? And no, I'm not talking about the Switch version of Skyrim. You know, the 8.3 release of Skyrim, wherein the Dragonborn can get Link's tunic, or where in Smash Brothers you can get the Dragonborn skin. I'm here to talk about Relics of Hyrule. Surprisingly, SC's versions only got about 100,000 unique downloads, with the most popular quest mods getting 1 million downloads or more, despite being around for so long. Originally released in 2013, and has been actively developed and added to this very day. The latest update was January 2026. Maybe this video will change that just a little bit. So what is Relics of Hyrule? It's a quest mod that adds over 400 new items, including over 100 lore books to the game. It also adds around 92 new locations hidden throughout Skyrim and Solstheim. And I do mean hidden. That's a freaking lot. All these items, locations, and lore bits are taken from nearly every Zelda game up until Breath of the Wild, which the mod author plans on adding in version 6.7, along with Age of Calamity and Cadence of Hyrule. Wait, no, it definitely has some Breath of the Wild items in there already. It's on the lore pages, and there's Guardian weapons in the game. So I guess you got a jump start on it. Heck, it even has the Wand of Gamelon in there, which left me flabbergasted.
You've killed me!
Good.
How does the mod do this? I do guess I need to talk about how it fits all of this in-game. First, the how of the lore. It writes the lore of the books and notes as Hyrule being this civilization lost deep in the first era of Nirn. So old they were myths to even the peoples of the Merithic era. Now, I'm not actually a fan of this, but some people will really like it. But it doesn't take away from the utter size and impressiveness of the mod. I'm still going to play it. In my game, I wrote a whole little subplot that explained Hyrule bleeding into Nirn as an effect of one more of the towers falling. And the stuff in ancient history is just correctly positioned in the Zelda series timeline for the Switch Zelda games to line up with Skyrim, since they were supposed to fall like 10,000 years or more after the other Zelda games. Go watch Fall of Green Sap if you're interested. You may also be asking, there are a number of videos by the creator of the mod that give an overview of parts of the mod, starting points, where to go, etc. But I found it kept with his style and how he made his mod, namely, it was somewhat vague and indirect. There are no quest markers for this mod. I'm not even sure there are true quests, just breadcrumbs in the form of notes, and some things are only able to be accessed with the correct items, just like a Zelda game in Skyrim, and somewhat non-linear, which means it's like some of my favorite Zelda games, the original Zelda, and the newest generation. That's right, all you Morrowind heads, you'll probably enjoy this one because it wants you to find things yourself in a non-linear fashion. You'll receive cryptic notes that point you to the next location that has an item or another landmark, or you'll see a fairy in the wild that'll do the same. Eventually, they'll lead you to a new location, or you'll just stumble upon a ruin that wasn't in base Skyrim. And let me tell you, some of these locations are massive. Anyway, I decided, being a Skyrim YouTuber, that I wanted to give the community a window into how neat this mod is, giving them at least some insight into where to go, and even showing some of the progression. Disclaimer, I definitely will not find my way through the entire mod in this one video, especially since it's so non-linear and massive. But I'm going to give you something neat to watch and a leg up if you want to try it. And oh yeah, if you want the true Zelda experience, here are some other small mods you might consider. I will say before we dive into Relics of Hyrule, everybody, whether you play this mod or not, should grab the Paraglider ONE mod, adding a Breath of the Wild paraglider to the game. Add throwable items for Boomerangs, and there are also a couple of hookshot type mods that might interest you. Relics pretty much covers everything else you can imagine for a Zelda game. There's a community patch hub, which includes a description framework add-on, which is very helpful since there are so many items in this mod. Also, a keyword item distributor patch. Since it has spears and such, you add them to animated armories functionality if you have it. And I do. Alright, so for this demonstration I'm going to be using this guy. This is our hero, Link. He was recently displaced from his home universe. I decided he would be Ocarina of Time Link, after the events of the game, after Majora's Mask, when he's grown up but obviously stripped of all his power in the transition to this universe. You know, like he usually gets. But embodying the spirit of the hero a little bit, since he's going to be able to recognize how to use some of the stuff from other games. Anyway, on to the actual gameplay. One of the more recent updates adds a fairy letter to the courier bomb you receive early in the game, whereas before there wasn't a starting point. This thing will introduce you to the idea of the mod, and tell you where the very first chest is, right by Riverwood, right here. Now I'm going to go through the forgotten notes in order, even though I didn't actually do this in order in my game, because it leads you to the first few items that you need. Note 2 is just east of Rorikstead at the Terminian Forge, which can be used to craft items from this mod. Hey, I'm trying to make a video here. Eat your beef somewhere else. Whoa. That dude just flew away. Dude is still hostile. Sorry, bud. What the heck? This is, after all, still Skyrim. Anyway, it can be used to make a lot of stuff from this mod, including bombs. Chest is over here, obscured by my large grass. Thanks, fairy. Note 2 sends you to the Midden in the College of Winterhold, or to Solstheim, but I'm going to the Winterhold one. That's because this one includes an arcane enchanter that is used for magic crafting in this mod. Note 3 sends you to Kinolangdanzel, which I actually went to first because it's where the Ocarina of Time is. You might consider skipping that and going to Forelhost, which is the next location, because it gives you the Song of Time, which you need to get into a gate in Kinolangdanzel, but I'm going to go in order. It is way far north of Orphan's Tier, and I was going to use a boat from Script-Free Sailing to go to Kinolangdanzel, but there's this cutscene teleporting rowboat provided by the mod. Let me tell you, Kinolangdanzel is a Dwemer ruin, and it's long. Not in a bad way or anything. The dungeons are enjoyable in this mod. Quite a few challenges back there. And it uses small keys also. Also, Ocarina of Time on that pedestal. An elevator that now leads to the beginning. So we can just come back down here after we get the 5th note and the Song of Time. Also, great use of Skyrim's shout mechanic to simulate the Redead scream. So the Song of Time's in Forelhost, a somewhat long vanilla dungeon. I'll save you the ordeal of watching me blast my way through hordes of Draugr. It's on this platform, on a table, in this tiny chest in Forelhost Refectory near the end of the dungeon. Now that we have the Ocarina and the song, we can return to Kinolangdanzel. The Ocarina of Time is required to enter any place with big blue blocks to make them disappear, and there are places where you play to make the blocks appear as stepping stones. It also opens the gate at the end of the dungeon we just did. You may have noted the symbol on note 5. This is leading the way to the lens and mask of truth. When we open the gate in Kinolangdanzel, it leads to the link between worlds. This cool Azura's Daedric quest-looking reality that's also a reference to one of the best 2D Zelda games, and leads between not only 3 of the biggest dungeons in this mod, but also Kakariko Village in a state of ruin. While there are a lot of side buildings on the way to the chapel, you should explore those on your own. The chapel from the freezing caves leads to a small world space of ruined Kakariko Village. Before you step out of the chapel, drop into the fairy fountain and pick up the Lens of Truth and the Eye of Truth spell. I just want to reiterate really just how much there is to do in this mod, and there's so much I'm glossing over. Step out into Kakariko and explore a little bit. The biggest thing you can access from here is the archive. Which is a Legacy of the Dragonborn-esque museum of pretty much everything you can collect in this mod. You know, all the relics of Hyrule.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Make sure you grab the Harp of Ages and the Tune of Currents while you're here. So now you know why there's not a patch for Relics of Hyrule with Legacy of the Dragonborn. And I'm not a completionist, but you should feel free to collect everything your heart desires. And that's the core of the mod. Beyond the 3 ruins that lead into the link between worlds and all the other connecting dungeons that connect from them, here's a quick list of other areas this mod has to offer. But first I'm going to show you a secret in the Kakariko graveyard. In this graveyard there are 324 graves. We're looking for Impa's grave at J9. Now use the Eye of Truth spell. This will lead you to the Shadow Temple. I just pointed that out because it's kind of hard to find. Also, to get into it, you need the Mask of Truth, and for that, you need to backtrack a little bit. For that, we need to go beneath the well, which is accessed via the freezing caves. It's a short dungeon. Just like Ocarina of Time, the Mask of Truth is invaluable. It'll give you the ability to speak with the Gossip Stones, and they'll give you hints about how to progress further in this mod. So these guys next to the door actually give you helpful hints now. And with this mod installed, these things are all over. And I'm going to leave you with a list of other things you should check out in this mod. Think of it as homework, but you know, fun. In addition to the Shadow Temple, there's a Forest Temple, Water Temple, and Fire Temple. The Ruptured Towers is a series of 9 dungeons that serve as the final set of challenges of the mod. The Forgotten Islands is a series of 6 islands to explore after the Ruptured Towers. You can collect Triforce pieces and either reform the Golden Triforce or the Black Lorulean Triforce. You collect fragments from the major dungeons of this mod, of which was previously stated are numerous. Each Triforce also grants a wish, like in the lore. This can be seen as the actual endgame of the mod. And of course, collecting and filling the absolutely massive archives. Thank you to the mod author for such a gigantic project. Now if you'll excuse me...
Well, excuse...
Link's got a date in the Shadow Temple. So long, and thanks for watching.
Excuse me, princess.